Hello and welcome to a snowy day in the interior of British Columbia. Today I wanted to share with you what we used on the inside of the van in those places where we were not going to have wood. We wanted to break it up so it wasn't like just the inside of a barrel, and I decided to use vinyl. Initially it was going to be just in a couple of places. I wanted to walk through and show that to you, but as we were using it, we discovered that it was a very easy thing to do and it looked great, so we found some other places to put it. And as we put it in other places, the installation changed a little bit, and I want to share each of those with you because I gotta tell you, it looks so professional and it was so easy. You're gonna want to know this, but it's too long for one video, so this is part one. Part two, there'll be a link to it right here if it's up, and check them out both out. It was just too much to put all into one, but I hope you enjoy it. Hope you find it useful. If you do, give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. By all means, leave us a comment. This is a good one. Here is a vinyl panel behind the second seats. These are removable. That floor can be patched. I have a vinyl panel at the end of the bed as well, and here I have it foam backed, so it's softer as you climb up into the bed. And here at the head and the foot of the bed, that's foam backed as well. I also made a vinyl panel for the inside of the sliding door. As much as I love wood, I believe it's possible to have too much. It's possible to get too much. So this panel and at the foot and the head of the bed and a couple other places in the van, I'm going to be using something that isn't wood. And I wanted a material that looked like fabric, that wasn't terrible, that wouldn't fade in the sunlight, that was easy to take care of, that wouldn't stain. And so I found a beautiful textured vinyl that's a lovely color. It's going to pick up the color in the seats. It's going to be a real nice accent panel. And the way it's been designed is I'm going to wrap a piece of plywood with the vinyl. It'll slip up under behind this sill, and it'll attach down to the bottom, and then I'll have a bit of trim at the bottom because I've got to try and hide this little corner of the van. Let's have a look here. Just the way the Promaster is, it's got this little step out at the bottom, and I don't want to lose that 1.5 inches from the cabin space. So I'm going to come up with some little detail at the bottom that'll look fine. And this panel, now this particular panel is going to have a 12-volt circuit, which will have a USB port and I call it a cigarette lighter plug. I don't know what the real word is, but a USB port and a cigarette lighter plug in case we have someone sitting in the back seats wants to use it. It'll also have a 3-prong 120-volt plug in case someone wants to use their computer or something here. So I'll build those plugs into the corner and do the panel, and then I'll figure out a nice trim on each side, because remember, over here we still have this hump we have to deal with. I came inside that hump. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. And only you and I will ever know it was a problem. We'll take care of it. But let's get started on fitting the panel. So here's the first hurdle, just once again reinforcing how crazy these friggin' vehicles are to work in. I just discovered that if I want to line up the right side of this panel so that it runs parallel to the sidewall, which is what I want to do. I want this joint to look nice and neat all the way down. Look at it's tapering here. The panel's riding up, so that means this side member and the floor don't run square to each other. Not a big deal. I can allow for that because I have extra width on the left side. I have to trim it for that big hump anyway. The top's going to be hidden and the bottom's going to be hidden. So whether the panel actually sits flat in the space or not isn't important. I want it to look good on each side. So that's the first thing I'm working on. All scribing really is transferring the line that you want to cut onto the material you want to cut it on, and finding a way to do that. And so in this particular case, it's a little bit different again. I'm going to line up my right-hand side. You won't be able to see that, but just trust me. I'm lining the right-hand side up because that's the side I want to have parallel to the side wall of the van. So I've lined it up in terms of height and straight up and down. This I want. I think, yeah, that's good. Now on this end, all I'm going to do very carefully for now is mark the top of the board and the edge of the board. That's all I want to do for now. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of wood. This is just a piece of scrap wood. That's all it is. I'm going to line it up on the mark and on the mark. No problem. And then I'm going to trace this top line, because that's the top of the sheet. I want to be square to that. And I'm going to come back as far as I have to, which is to there. About to there. So that's how much I need to scribe off. So now I take my scribing tool and I measure that distance. And then I put this piece back up in line where I want it on the side and in line with the line on the top. And now what I've effectively done is I've moved the edge of my sheet this way that much. It's still in the line it's supposed to be in, the orientation it's supposed to be in. I want to take this much off. So all I have to do is start at the bottom, keeping my line perpendicular, being sure that I stay perpendicular. And that's how much has to come out of that panel for it to fit. So I'm going to cut that now first. And we're back in. I didn't make a video of me making the cut. I figure you've seen me cut along a line lots of times and you understand the concept. Full disclosure, I did have to make a couple of cuts to make this work. The pattern was a little bit off. And I did change my hat because I realized the first time around I was wearing my camo hat. I didn't want to confuse anyone not being able to see me and wondering where the voice was coming from. So here I am, I'm back again. And we've got this panel cut. And it fits really, really nicely. It fits just great. I've got a good fit along the right side and along the left side here, the back end. I've got a good cut along this bump. I'm not sure just how I'm going to deal with that, but that'll give me all the options. And now what I need to do in this other corner, over here behind my shoulder, I'm going to mount my electrical box. And I'm going to drill the holes to receive this beautiful USB port / cigarette lighter thing. That's the next job. And this panel is fitted and ready for the vinyl. Now I'll start on the back too. Welcome back. We're working on panels again. Now, building a van is a whole lot of small steps. And sometimes you think you would think those steps will go down a path like just nice and straight and you know exactly where you're going all the time. Unfortunately, that's not the case at all. You'll find that you start doing one thing and you say, oh, but before I do that, I need to do this. And before I do that, I should do this. And then I should do this. But before I can do that, I have to know how this is going to work. And this is a great example of that. I started doing the panel because I needed to establish how far out from the wall the panel was going to be in order to establish where the windowsill was going to be at the window before I trimmed the window out. Once I had that established, I thought, well, I should trim out the window before I do the panel because I don't want to ruin the panel. So I went ahead and I trimmed out the window completely. Now, that's another video altogether. That's a good one, too. You'll want to see that. Then I started, once I got the window finished up, I was on a roll and I had everything all set up. So I thought, well, I'll finish off some of the cedar. The other cedar that isn't finished yet. So I started finishing that off and sanding it and filling the holes and plugging it. That's another video. And then the guy who's helping me with my welding, because I don't know how to weld and I want to put a second row of seats in, and that required some modification to the seats I had and some fabrication for some other parts. His time came available for me. So I took a couple days and we worked at his shop and worked on the seat rails and things. And then I spent all day yesterday under the van fastening these pieces down. And now my second row of seats is complete. That's another video. And then it's gotten warm and I'm working in an unheated shop and the temperature has been, right now where I am in British Columbia, it's about 0 degrees, or it's freezing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit in the morning, but it warms up to about 50 or 60 in the afternoon. That's warm enough to do a lot of stuff. So I want to start urethaning because I want to get about 5 or 6 good coats of finish on the wood. So today I thought, oh, I should finish sand everything that I can sand and get another coat of get the first coat of urethane finish on the wood. That's another video. Finally got that done. That meant cleaning up the shop and stuff. I didn't do a video about that. But now I'm back to where I think it's time that I can be working on this panel again. So today I want to put the vinyl on this panel. That's my goal. So let's do that. Okay, so this is the panel that we made up. This is the face is going to get the vinyl on it. And honestly, I'm not sure how we're going to do this yet. This is the vinyl, and it's going to, it should be a really nice match for the seats. It should be a really nice match for the seats. I'm just not sure how we're going to do this. Okay, I've given this about 5 minutes thought. I don't want to make it any harder than it has to be. I don't want to invest 8 days into doing these 3 panels. So I've done a lot of plastic laminate work in the past, like arborite work, countertop work. And I don't think this is going to be a whole lot different. I might be totally wrong, but we're going to do this one real time, and I'm just going to explain to you what I'm going to do with this first process. I'm going to share it with you whether it works or not, and we'll see what happens. So this is what I'm thinking. I've got this sheet stretched just a little bit, just enough to make sure there's no wrinkles in it. I've got it clamped. At this end. I should have another clamp. There. I've got it clamped. And I have it clamped at the other end as well. Hopefully you can see that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my contact cement on this field. I've gone around the perimeter with a marker to know where I don't need to spray contact cement. I'm going to spray the cement on this edge. You know, I should protect that table too. Okay, I'll do that too. There, back again. What I've done is I've ran some plastic, this plastic up under the sheet just to protect the work surface from the overspray of the glue. I don't want to get my table saw covered with contact cement, or my rented table saw. And then I'm going to glue this vinyl. I'm going to glue the face of the panel. And then I'm going to try just setting this down gently on top of that. And I think if I start at one end, if I can line it up properly and work to the other end, it should be fine. We're going to find out. With any luck, this should take about 10 minutes. And the reason it's going to take 10 minutes is the glue has to sit for 5 minutes. So I'll set up here. I'll do this spraying of this one outside. I'm going to try and show you both. So let's see how we do. Notice how I changed direction? I have no idea if that makes any difference or not. So I have it all sprayed. I have my panels sprayed. As a rule of thumb, when the glue is dry to touch, typically that means it's ready to go. That's how contact cement works with everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 pieces and put them on top as spacers, because once that one set of glue on that face touches the glue on this face, if I've done it right, it's done. So I got to be very careful to make sure it's in the right place to begin with. Now, I take this one, gently set him on top, get him located about where I want him, and then I'm going to start at this end. I'm going to push this end down, and then lift up on this back side. See how the sticks are sticking? That's a good sign. Very gently, then I'm going to work my way along the sheet, trying to keep the vinyl so it goes down in order, and hopefully there won't be any bubbles in this way. And that is that. Now, take the clamps off. Take the clamps off. Turn it over. Looks pretty good. Don't feel any bubbles. And now, if this was a piece of arborite or a piece of wood, what you would do is take a block, cover your ears, Okay, well, that seemed to work pretty well. The next 2 I want to work on are at the head and the foot of the bed. And for those, I want to add about 1 inch or ½ an inch of foam to the plywood above the mattress at each end to soften things a bit at the head and the foot of the bed, and just make the place a little more swanky, you know. So, but I don't want that foam to run all the way down to the end of the plywood because I don't want to take that space away from the mattress if I can. I may be making this harder than it has to be, but I think it's something I want to try doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to glue the foam to the plywood first, and then I'll glue the vinyl to the foam and the plywood. So first thing I want to do is make sure I can get the foam in the right place. That's step number one. Let me put that together and I'll show you what I've done. What I did first was I drew a line where I want the foam to come to, and I ran a piece of green tape along that line, and then I've taped just some spare leftover plastic from my insulation as a protection, again, from overspray. And then I'm going to glue this piece of foam onto the plywood, and I'll overlap that tape just a little bit because I've let the tape wrap around the panel at the end, so I'll know where it is, and I'll just put a straight line on it. This is my theory anyway. Put a straight line on there, cut it off. It should come out about where I want it to. So then it was just a simple matter of turning this over and tracing around the panel so that I would know where to glue. That's where I'm going to put my glue. I'll cut that foam off. I'll cut this foam off after it's been glued on. That's step one. Try to get the foam stuck to the plywood. That's what we're doing now. What I'm having trouble deciding is whether or not I want to glue the plywood. I think I'm going to glue it up this way, and then drop the plywood onto the foam. That's what I'm going to do. That's how it's going to work. Again, so far I've got about 5 minutes into this, and I think that's all the planning I need to do. I'm going to now protect the table from overspray and get at it. Okay. This really isn't all that difficult. Now you just take your adhesive. Oh, I'm saying that. We'll see how it all works out. I can see how someone could easily spend a day doing this, but I mean, I don't think it's that big a deal. So we spray this on. Paying particular attention to the edges. Do it again. There we go. Okay, now we just wait 5 minutes. Okay, so that's been about 5 minutes. This is feeling about right. It's time to try it. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'll pull this down where it's easier to reach and see what I'm doing. And now, this is one of those jobs where it might be easier if you had 2 people, but I don't. So I'm going to take my little strips of wood again, wherever I put them. There, excuse me. There. Let's set these on just to make sure that nothing bad happens. And turn this over, glue to side to glue side. And you know what? I can take this plastic off now too. Leave that on there. Let's just get some away. Let's go glue side. Being careful. I don't have to be exact because I can cut this off later. Okay, I want to be sure that I'm at least down to the bottom of the tape. Top of the tape. Halfway on the tape. There we go there. Whoop, 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 whoop. There we go. Okay, let's do that. There we are. Okay. Okay. There we go. Boom. That is on there. Good. Good. Now I'm going to trim off the edges first with my trusty scissors. Over. Now, if anything, I'm trying to cut this a little bit smaller than it needs to be because I want to curl the vinyl over the back here and shove it up behind behind that molding. So having it be angled, undercut a little bit, the same as we did with the when I was talking about trimming, putting the wood trim on. Undercutting it a bit, I don't think would be a bad thing. So I'm going to do that. Edge. Good. Now to trim this off. And to trim this off, I know I've got my green tape, so I just need to get a straight edge. Excuse me just a minute, I gotta get a straight edge. It's funny, you know, I haven't needed a straight edge in so long. For a while there, I was using a straight edge every day, multiple times, and I haven't used one in quite a while, and I couldn't find it. But anyway, I found something that'll work. I have not ever cut this stuff before, but I think it's a material that should cut nicely with a sharp knife. So I'm gonna cut this straight edge. I'm gonna try cutting this straight edge with a sharp knife. And this is the same knife blade I've used for the whole project. And all you need to do to keep your knife sharp is every once in a while, just pass it over a stone. It's not very hard at all. Just pass it over a stone, put the edge back on it, and it's nice and sharp. You can see that. Just pass it over a stone like this. It's no big deal. It's not like sharpening a chisel or something. You're just gonna try to put a burr on the end of it, and it's easily done. Now, I have my tape. I'm going to mark the top of the tape because that's where I want to cut to. I'm going to put my straight edge on there. And when you can, you put your straight edge on the work you want to keep. Because if you're cutting along, it's such an easy thing to have happen. Anytime you're working on a material, you can be cutting along and just catch an edge and suddenly slip off the line. If you slip off the line at all, and this is your good side, you've screwed up what you're doing. Whereas if you're working under your knife, under your straight edge, you can never go over and cut up and mess up the piece you're working on. So always do it this way, and then find a way to hold it still. I'm not comfortable with the angle I'm working at here, so I'm going to turn this over. I think I've said a lot of times, a tradesman will spend most of his time getting ready to actually make the cut. Making the cut is the easiest part of the job. In fact, I might even put a clamp on the back end of that. Hang on a second. I want this cut to be straight, and I want to do everything I can to ensure that it is. So I'm just going to put a clamp on the back end of this so that I know it's being held in the right place. Good. And that's being held there. Okay, now we're just going to hold it down. Whoa! That feels pretty good. All right, let's have a look, see. That on. Take the knife away. Take it straight over here. And now, Look at that. Good God. Look at that. Hey, let's do that. Oh, ho, ho. How's that look? Blue merino. Okay, so now I have, I'm going to do the other panel as well. And that's the end of the first installment of the vinyl panels. Now, the application was very similar for all the panels, if there was foam or if there wasn't foam. The first thing you do is make your plywood template, and then you get your vinyl the right size. If there's foam, you put the foam on, and then you put the vinyl on after that. I wanted to do it in real time as close as possible and show you all the steps, because I got to tell you, the results I thought were just outstanding. It looked so professional. It was so cool. I want you to see how easy it really was. Now, up here, either one side or the other will be the link to the second part of it as soon as I get it up. These are really cool. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, give us a share, and give us a subscribe. Cheers.